When I Am 64 by Mumtaz Mahar. Jack Braganza had been serving in a private firm for about 30 years when he suddenly received a termination letter. For a moment, everything went dark in front of his eyes because the letter mentioned that he had been making mistakes while maintaining the accounts. His forgetfulness and memory lapses could cause serious damage to the company, so he was to be relieved of his duties immediately. He had joined the firm as an assistant accountant and was soon promoted to the position of a deputy manager. At the time of his termination, he was only 55 years old. His plans had been to retire at the age of 60 years and go and live in America where his son was already settled. A new situation always creates new problems. His life's routine was disturbed. His wife, Christina Braganza, had been a teacher in a convent school for 20 years and was its vice principal now. She was 10 years younger than him but looked even younger given her good health and good looks. Their daughter Maria, a college student who taught students at home in the evenings to help make ends meet. After Jack Braganza's retirement, their expenses were met by their son who lived in America. He sent about $600 every third month, which was helpful in running their home. Thus, the Braganza family did not have any financial difficulties even in that situation. The only thing Braganza suffered every morning was the pain of loneliness when his wife left for work at 8:30 in the morning, and his daughter also left for college, and he was at home all alone. He had he only had two close friends, Tony, Marlowe, and James Stephen, who he met occasionally. One of his childhood friends, Pinto de Souza, had died a long time ago. There was a time when these friends used to enjoy their Sunday nights together. They used to spend some time on the dimly lit lawns of the Matina bar where they enjoyed drinking beer, whiskey, or gin depending on the occasion. On important eves, such as Christmas or Easter, they met at the Excelsior Hotel to enjoy the dances. This was just before 1970, when Karachi was at the height of its glory. Every hotel, bar, coffee house, and cafe restaurant in the southern area was full of life. At the time, places of culture such as the libraries thrived and had not yet been turned into beauty parlors or jewelry shops. Mansfield Street and its lanes were home to the Christian community from Goa. They had migrated to Karachi at the end of the 19th century and had contributed a lot to the beauty of this multicultural city. Jack Braganza's family also originally belonged to Goa, but they had resided in Karachi for years now, in a flat in one of the old buildings on Mansfield Street. The only change that had occurred was that middle-aged Goan women wore skirts and blouses, just like the Parsi women, whereas the younger Goan ladies wore shalwar kameez to keep themselves safe from the criticism of the conservative-minded immigrants who had come to Karachi after partition in 1947 and after the civil war with East Pakistan in 1971, and who lived in the shanty suburbs of Sadr, which was the city center. Many of the clubs, cinemas, restaurants, and culture centers of cosmopolitan Karachi eventually closed down by the end of the 70s. Parks and gardens had become a hub for addicts. In such a situation, people like Jack Braganza, who were used to parties in cafes or at the Martina bar in the evenings, could not find a place to pass their time. While alone in his flat, Jack Braganza kept thinking and worrying all by himself. Sometimes, if he went onto the balcony of his flat, the sight of the worn out buses, the smoke from the minibuses, the vendors, and the noise of the encroachers made him hastily retreat to his room. He spent his spare time listening to Beatles songs from the 60s, or other Western music, or reading mystery novels by Agatha Christie. Everybody loves the days of their youth. The decade of the 60s was very important for people like Jack Braganza because they had lived their lives to the fullest in those years. It was the time of the Beatles' tight trousers, pointed shoes, Gianfranco Goria styles, long hair hanging down to the shoulders, psychedelic shirts, and bush shirts. It was the time of watching Sunday morning shows in the best cinemas and of long hours spent sitting and chatting with friends in the evenings, routinely at one of the Iranian restaurants. Riding in trams and double-decker buses on wide streets always reminded everyone that Karachi was a beautiful city, in no way less beautiful than Bombay at that time. Gradually, Karachi transformed into a mini Pakistan as people from the northern areas and the interior parts of the country started coming to and settling in Karachi and forming shanty areas all around. Within a span of 10 years, one of the neatest and cleanest cosmopolitan cities of Asia turned into one of its biggest slums. Jack Braganza was losing his memory gradually. He started calling his wife by different names and with time kept forgetting his daughter's name too. He even forgot things placed in front of him. He asked his wife one day, "Who are you and who do you want to see?" It was not possible to leave him alone at home, and certainly not outside the home. His family consulted a doctor, and they then took him to a famous psychiatrist who asked him a few questions to which he gave incomplete or wrong answers. Jack Braganza was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's, with the chance that, with a happy, pleasant environment, it could be kept in check. The doctor advised an assisted walk in the fresh air in the morning and evening, listening to more of the music that he took pleasure in, brisk daily exercise. He was advised to meet his old and close friends to keep his memories alive and intact. He was also prescribed a few medicines, which were to be continued for a longer period. It was compulsory for his wife to leave for school and for his daughter to attend her college in the morning, coming home in the afternoon, and after quickly eating their hurriedly made lunch, both of them took good care of Jack. They took him to the seaside occasionally in a taxi or on a Victoria to Friary Hall Garden, which was the only place in the main city where, due to its historical importance, there was a presence of guards and a police station, and so was quite safe for the families who visited it for pleasure. Sunday, being a holiday, was as busy for Jack's family as for any other family from Goa. Both mother and daughter would get ready and go to church. On their way back, they usually visited the sick to keep their social ties strong. The rest of the day was spent doing household chores. It was seldom for any of Jack's friends or for a neighbor to visit him on a Sunday evening. Jack usually spoke very little as he forgot things while talking and would get stuck and confused at times. Despite all their efforts, his memory worsened. Now he was unable to recognize his wife and daughter and was almost like a statue. They treated him and cared for him just as if he was a small child. It was his wife's duty to get clean and wash him. Jack used to call his wife "my dear," but now Christina longed to hear such words from her husband. His 60th birthday was coming up, but ever since Jack fell ill, birthdays for the Braganza family were quite affairs. On this special occasion, inviting members of the other families or friends posted a problem for them. They decided to celebrate Jack's birthday by just cutting a cake and decided not to send any invitations, as it was difficult to tell if he would even understand that it was his birthday. This made his wife and daughter very sad. A day before Jack's birthday at 4 p.m. in the evening, everybody was taking a nap. Jack was lying in his armchair with his eyes shut as if he was lost in his thoughts. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Maria found a well-dressed lady standing at the door. "No, I'm sure that I have come to the right place. Doesn't Mr. Briganza live here?" she said in an American accent. "Is he alive?" she added hastily. "Yes, he is my dad. Come inside, come inside." She was made to sit in the sitting room and everyone introduced themselves. The visitor was Gulrati Kaikos. She and her husband, Jamshed Kaikos, were settled in California for the last 30 years, where they owned a family business. She had studied with Jack at St. Patrick's High School and DJ Science College. They had been friends and visited each other very often then, and were together until both of them got married. Gulrati belonged to the Parsi community, but though they were quite liberal, they preferred to marry within their own communities. As soon as Rati got married, she left for America. On returning to Karachi after 3 decades, she thought of meeting her college and schoolmates. She remembered where Jack lived, so she did not find it difficult to go over. Although it was quite disappointing for her to see the traffic congestion, noise, and filth in his neighborhood, she did not want to tell Christine and Maria that Jack and she had actually liked each other, but knew the limitations in their relationship and had never crossed them. She had tears in her eyes when she was told that Jack Braganza had lost his memory and was unable to recognize anyone. She went in alone to see him in his room. On hearing the knock at the door, Jack opened his eyes and straightened his back in his armchair. She sat beside him, holding his hands tightly and looking into his eyes, recalling all the moments they had passed together. Then she slowly started to whisper the words of a song he loved to sing to her. When I get older, losing my hair, many years from now, will you still be sending me valentines? Birthday greetings, bottle of wine. If I had been out till 2:45, would you lock the door? Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I am 64? When Gul Rati Kaikos repeated the last lines of the song, I am 64, Jack's finger tightened and gripped her hand tightly, and she noticed that his face was turning red with emotion. He started moving his lips, repeating the words, When I am 64. Listening to his emotion filled voice, Jack's wife Christine and daughter Maria entered the room, watching him in great surprise. Jack continued singing the song, as did the guest, even more emotionally as Christine and Maria joined in. These were the most joyful moments for all of them.